Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Anyway, so when my mom moved back to Spanish Town, she was living at a place called Jones Penn Avenue. We had some good time there. We didn't live there for long, it seems, but I remember used to look forward to Christmas. Every special holiday, like Christmas or something, one place we're looking forward to, right? And that's our aunt in Kingston. To go see Michael and Anne-Marie. And Easter time, I was reminding my sister the other day, I kind of break her chops and hey, it's Easter. Did you put out the egg in the glass to see what it forms? Because that's what they used to say back then. We never done it, right? And the reason is they used to say whatever the egg forms, that kind of determines the future, what you become. And we all said, well, we don't want it to turn in a coffin. Another highlight I remember, we used to go to Guinea and then bundle them up and go across to Ensom City and sell them for like 5 cents a bundle. Our total sale for the day would be like 35 cents. And we're happy with 35 cents because when we come back home, that can do a lot. And you could buy things like butter and cheese, ice mint, box juice or box milk. I used to love chocolate milk in the box. Back then, that was my favorite. Or the cherry, I think we used to have one called the cherry milk. I used to like that too. So those are some of the things that I remember growing up in Trinidad Park. And so we used to look forward to summertime in Trinidad Park, you know, especially when the school used to have field day. We'd go across there, hang out, have fun. When we're not doing that, we go over by this other area called Capture Land, where we race around the community, have relays and whatever, you know. And we used to do little things like having competition, naming all the people that lives in the community, right? To connect everybody because everybody was seemed to be like family. And so we used to try to connect them, and that would be fun to us. In the same time, we're walking down all the way from Trinidad Park to Thompson Pen to visit my grandfather and have fun with that too. That's the journey, walking, passing, and knowing people on top of Thompson Pen, except for night when it gets dark and we have to come back. I mean, we'd be so afraid. We stop at this bar, Miss Darling Bar, we call it, and wait for the men that are in there drinking and getting drunk and everything until they're coming home back in Trinidad Park. Then we'd walk behind them. And so those are my fun days. And then I remember when I turned 12, then I started to go to the golf course with Miss Andy. Right, Miss Andy was like, a recognized, uplifting person in the community, a respected person, I should say, in the community. She was a pastor, and then she would cook stuff and take up to the golf course on this donkey and sell it on the golf course. At age 12, I started going over by her house, helping her with the donkey, packing stuff, and taking her up there, taking the stuff on the donkey up to the golf course, right? And then, because a lot of the guys from Trinidad Park used to go on the golf course to caddy, but I think they started at age 13, right? And so I had to wait until I turned 13. So I must have been going up there for a while with her on the donkey. Then when I become 13, then they start to allow me to caddy on the golf course. And when we started out on the golf course, that's where I get my exposure to what the kind of life that I really want to live. It's money people play golf, right? So a lot of white people and some blacks that are rich, lawyers, doctors, business owners, and the like. And so I get my exposure and the kind of life that I want to live, see how people talk, and that type of stuff, right? And so when I started there, they have different classes for caddies. So I think they have like class A, B, and C is the lower class. So I started at a class C. Did I ever make it to class A? I think so. But I started at class C. When we caddy, we get like 50 cents. And then class B, I think like get $1 and A get $1.50. But then it was a lot of money then, that time, And sometimes we have what we call a double. So you start caddying early, and then finish early, and then get another bag and caddy. And then, in the midst of that, we learn how to play golf and start looking towards competition towards the end of the year, like the, what we call it now, the Jamaica opening, I think it's called, where golfers from overseas and from other golf course, Kingston Spring, we call it down the country, Mobay, Half Moon Rosal, Iron Shore, and then Mandeville. Everybody would come up, and then we make a lot more money then. I wish I'd kept my golf t-shirt with a little alligator on there that says Caymanas. That was the name of the golf course. Caymanas Golf and Country Club. And so kind of have fun with that. A lot of the golf cart. Back then it's not like here in the US where everybody drive a golf cart playing golf. Everybody walk playing golf, and like the older people use a golf cart, and when the golf cart break down, we try to fix them and just have a little bit of joyride. And then in the evening when we're going home, we take like 2 clubs, maybe an 8 iron or like a 3 iron, and play a couple of holes on the back 9 when the caddy master is not seeing us, or what we call the Mr. Furley that used to be in charge of the golf course. And so those are the 2 clubs that we use to play a lot of holes. We use it for tee shots, fairways, and putter. They used to say caddies are the best golfer. So, I don't know, go figure. So that's where I learned back then with, Jack Nicklaus, Ben Hogan. Those are the guys, those are the pros back then that, we grew up on, looking through magazines and so forth. And so I caddied on the golf course until I was 18, because what you're gonna hear now is kind of how I transitioned to Kingston. When you're smaller and you run into older people to ask you what you want to be, I knew from age 12 that I want to be an engineer. A matter of fact, as I talk about age 12, let me back up a bit and tell you about the passing of my father, because my father passed at age 12. And boy, oh boy, because of the way he used to treat us, you would think we'd mourn and stuff. No. We were the happiest camper when my father died. And we felt like, boy, life is going to change and life is going to be different, because he's not around for us to be afraid of anymore. So now when we go to Grandpa house, we don't have to worry about him. We just felt free, and that's out of our life. We don't have to worry, that type of thing. It's sad to say that, but that was the situation, because the kind of disadvantage, we call it, that he used to take of us. It's really child abuse, right? Beat us with all kinds of stuff. Again, you can go back to part 1 of the video and see my story there. But so the main person I used to caddy for on the golf course was Mr. Sinclair. He owned the only Nissan dealership and Volkswagen dealership in Kingston. And so what he used to tell me is that when I leave school, which is Spanish Town Secondary, I should let him know, and then he would take me to Kingston by his dealership, because I told him that I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to learn how to fix things, to fix cars, be a mechanic, and I wanted to do different things. But my ultimate career that I want to have back then was an engineer. So I wanted to experience a lot of things leading up to that. I wanted to be a plumber, carpenter, electrical, what we call the electrical installation at the time, electrician, auto mechanic. I wanted to be a pilot. I wonder why I'm so fascinated now with aviation. and just, my next step is to try to get my pilot license. But I wanted to be all those things, right? And so I carried over the years, having fun, learning places around between Tredegar Park and the golf course. We'd go to Waterloo, so we know a lot of people in Waterloo. A lot of the kids come to Tredegar Park all-age school, so we know them. And so when we're going up to the golf course, we're passing their house and pointing out, oh, that's where so-and-so live, that's where so-and-so live. Oh, there's so-and-so. I remember my friend from Waterloo was Earl and Dalvin Lewis. So those are the two friends. And then I met Evan on the golf course, that he was from Waterloo as well. So we all became friends as kids and, sort of enjoying the place there. So we had some good time until I turned 18. And then when I told Mr. Sinclair that I'm leaving high school, then he had me coming out to his place. And so when I went to Kingston now to work in this place, thought it was too far to travel from Spanish Town to get there in the morning time. So my aunt agreed for me to come and stay with her in Waterford, in Portmore area. My uncle was there at the time, and so I started staying with them, and then start to work at Mr. Sinclair's place. Sinclair's Garage was the name of the place, right? So when I started that, I thought I was going to learn auto mechanic. No, they put me in the parts department where I learned all the parts. I mean, guys, I tell you, I later learned auto mechanic, pretty much self-taught and learned from my friends and so on, and guys in the garage and so forth. But before that, before I learned how to fix car, I knew every piece of parts in the parts department and on the car, from the first bolt that hold up the front bumper to the back, right? Learn parts number. We could just say parts number out of our head for Nissan and Volkswagen. They sell Oldsmobile as well, but it wasn't popular, so we have to go into the book to get those part numbers. So while working at Sinclair's, of course, I met friends there. We started it was like a family atmosphere. So to touch base and give a little shout out to the little family there that we're still friends today, was people like Andy, Carl Anderson, we call him Andy. There was Big Youth, right? There was Bickle, there was Rennie, Arta B, and who else was there? Hutchinson, and our boss was Mr. Murray. He was in charge of the parts department. They used to have a nickname for him. I'm trying to remember. Count. I think they used to call him. Count. I don't know if it's with the eyeglass, and then back then they wear the little thing in the shirt where you have the pen that, it looks, the sophisticated ones, the intellects, right? Pen pad in the shirt, glasses and so forth. So that was Mr. Murray. And then now in the so that's around like the parts department side. We call it the front counter and the parts counter. And then we have Jones in the back counter, that he was responsible for serving parts to the garage. I took that position later, and then after that I started working in the Cardex. So in the Cardex, I remember you have Wint, you have Kessler. Later on, who came by? Robbie came by. Robbie was in the parts department. And then you have Bobby, that was also in Cardex. And you have Miss Swire was also in the Cardex. And then the person that was responsible for the entire parts department now, including Mr. Murray, was Miss Chinsey, right? And then alongside Miss Chinsey, you have Mr. Perkis. He was responsible for purchasing. And then later on, Jim Plunkett joined him and worked under Mr. Perkis. So in the Cardex, you have Kessler, Wint, Miss Swire, and there was a girl I'm trying to remember. I don't remember her name. She was in the Cardex, and then Roger, called him, and Snuffy came by and started working the Cardex. Snuffy's Hugh Smith, we call him Snuffy, and then Roger Ricketts. So they came on later, and man, we had a good time. Play soccer in the evening, go out and trips to Duns River Fall, that sort of stuff. And who else is there? And then the rest of the family. Myers was like a floater. If I meet up Myers today, he will have to explain to me what his job was, because he was just float around. Sometimes he's in the parts department, in the cardiac system. He's in the he's in the around in the garage. But he was the Volkswagen expert. He knows every piece of parts and the part number out of his head. He started substituting parts way before the manufacturer started substituting parts. And the manufacturer back then was, of course, Germany, Volkswagen, and then a lot of it came out of Mexico as well. And then we have the Nissan. So that was our family. And then, of course, you have Mr. Sinclair, Miss Sinclair, and then a lot of people in the sales department met and be friends at that time. Remember, Blackwood was a sales manager, I think. So he used to be just popular around the place. Other popular person, I just remember this guy that was in charge of the service department. And why am I drawing blank on his name? I don't remember his name, but it's not really important. Yeah. So that was kind of my life at Sinclair's Garage. And so while I'm working there, on the weekend I have to come back home to my mom in Spanish Town to just to take money home, hang out with the kids, the family, and be kid again. Because you would think that I'm a grown man in Kingston, right? But once I come back home, nope. So that's kind of how I got to Kingston and start my life in Kingston. And so Tredegar Park, right? From Jones Pen to Tredegar Park. And then on the golf course. And then from the golf course to Waterford and into Kingston, where I start working. And so there's life in Kingston that I'm going to tell you about in part 3 of the story. So for now, I hope you enjoy this part of my story. And there's some bits and pieces that, as I remember, I'll fit them into part 3, right? But I hope you enjoy my story. So drop me a line in the comment section and your thoughts and any feedback. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Okay, so you can hear my story. And if you have a story to tell and your journey, feel free to hit me up. You can either drop me a line in the comment section or click on About Us, and you'll see my email address there. You can email me and you can make a connection, and then we'll hook up some kind of way, even if we have to do it virtually, where we talk about covering your story, what your journey is like from whatever island, whether it's Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, wherever, to capture your story and showcase it here on the channel. But I'll fill you in on some more stuff and a little bit of life in Spanish Town, and also then begin the life in Kingston and talk about more fun. So a little bit of preview there. I used to move around Kingston, I start learning about parties and concerts, with my friends, going back to evening class. Every weekend we go to Elsha and start learning about Portland and those kind of places. So until then, guys, work good and take care. Bye.